Hold on now. Well, where's this? Why? Why me? Are we good now? Oh. Bear with me, folks, as I try and iron out a few wrinkles. See if I can get my channel shut down by playing copyrighted music. God forbid you play copyrighted music. No, I would make no money off of this. It doesn't matter. Alright, well, officially welcome everybody. Maybe we'll hem and haw a bit until we get enough for a quorum. And for those of you that are out there and want to give me some feedback, let me know. I didn't know you were bringing the music. Yeah, John, trying to bring a little bit of music. Let me bring it back. See if I can get the channel shut down. Give it another minute or two here. Conflict Magazine, how you been, brother? Alright, trying out some new software here, and it is Mardi Gras, so I think the only thing I'm missing is the stock market ticker tape going across the bottom here. This is OBS stuff. New to me, or I am new to it, or both. And there's so many things you can do with it. This whole Switch started, you know, the basic YouTube live stream thing is fine for what it is. But I wanted to know how to highlight, so you guys are commenting over here, right? And I thought, well, how do you highlight a comment? And maybe there's something I'm missing on that. Highlight a comment so that it shows up on the screen here, right? The big screen everybody's looking at. And that got me off on a tangent, and then I found OBS and saw that you can do like ticker tape and then this thing and that thing, and I learned all this other peripheral stuff that I don't need to know. What I need to know is things like frame rate and resolution and bit rate, because I don't know anything about those, and that would suit me well because the image would benefit accordingly. Anyway, that's enough of that. Greetings, welcome everybody. We've got a couple people here. Imagine 1 or 2 more will stop by as the night grows long in the tooth. Disclaimer, I don't know how well the stream is going to go because it is new software and it could crash, it could catch fire. Who knows what it might do? It could create a rip in the space-time continuum. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know what OBS is either. I knew what it stood for and then I forgot. OBS stands for something. And it's free, it's software, and it's to help aid in streaming and filming. It's not editing as such, but it's along those lines. So it is Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday, and what a miserable, horrible Fat Tuesday it is. In fact, you can go on YouTube and look at a live, and I think it's year-round. You can go on YouTube, and there's a live stream of Bourbon Street. And it's pretty sad. I think I looked at it earlier today, and there was like 2 cars parked there illegally, and a bird flew in the camera for a little bit. That was exciting. Edge of your seat stuff there. The street crew came by and picked up the trash. So that is Bourbon Street for Mardi Gras, if that gives you an idea of what things are going on. And Kilroy, yeah, that's funny. So no parades are allowed, and the mayor initially had said, come on everybody down in New Orleans, you're welcome, and we're going to have a great time. And then she said something along the lines of, but we're not going to have parades, and we're going to block this street off. Literally, she's got fences everywhere. All the normal stopping grounds that people would be attending are blocked off so that people can't, for obvious reasons. But she kind of contradicted herself there, so it's a little fishy. What else? So Mardi Gras is kind of on the fritz. So what people have done here is decorate their houses. I don't know, maybe you guys have seen this on the news. Drive by, you get in your car and you go down the street, and there's certain areas that you can look at, and people have decorated their houses to look like floats. So Mardi Gras is in fact not a lost cause. It's been saved, and everybody is happy, and we can have a wonderful ending. Turn our houses into floats. Yeah, so I'm not one of those. It is freezing and miserable here, and you're going to laugh at that because I know a lot of you up north, which is where I'm from, are dealing with a lot more cold as it is than I am. And us down here, cold is anything below 60. That said, it's been below 32. In fact, last night it got down to 27. Which means I have to turn on every faucet in this house and let it leak so that the pipes don't freeze and burst. And this has happened since I've lived here about 2 or 3 years ago. All the pipes blew out underneath the house, and that was a lot of fun, let me tell you. 6 months to get that right. Water pressure was a wreck. I don't want to go through that again, and the landlord, being who he is, doesn't want to do any unnecessary, hey, wardrobe, welcome, sir. What's the up? Doesn't want to go through anything that would cost money to fix anything. Now, he'll patch things that he has to, but he's not going to do any preventive, insulate the pipes or anything like that. So I'm on the edge of my seat here with that. And in fact, I still have the pipes, the faucets draining because now it's saying it says it's 30 degrees. So every time I look at this, the getting above 32 degrees, above freezing, keeps getting pushed back. So 22 in Atlanta, yeah. Man, I'm ready for summer. I used to think I liked winter, and I think I like it on paper, but actually living somewhere cold, I don't know how you guys do it up there. I don't know how I did it up there, living in St. Louis all those years. Brother sends me a picture shoveling his car out of the snow that had slid into a bank, and that just looks awful and miserable. I mean, if you don't have to live somewhere like that, I'm not sure why you would. Now I'm freezing up, I see. So also bear in mind that at some point, depending on the quality of the stream, I may, which is an inconvenience for everybody, but the work in progress here, I may kill this and go just normal YouTube because I'm freezing up again. So still frozen. I get verification on that. You guys, am I freezing up there? Or am I just dreaming this? Also, how's the audio? Audio should be okay. But as I watch the stream, it looks like I'm freezing here and there. So let me know on that if it keeps happening. If it is in fact happening, give me a heads up. And the Panzer, well, let's hop right into it. John, it's funny you should ask that because Panzer Blitz game behind me, yes, it does. I think, Todd, you streamed this and played it. Battle for Hill 112, Normandy, 1944. So, obviously, the maps are greatly improved. According to the box, it is a chit-based interactive mechanic, both players, blah, 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 random chits. You know, I don't know if this is directly a direct descendant of Panzer. Well, I guess it is. I mean, you can't call it Panzer Blitz and not have it be a direct descendant. When you were saying you were freezing, you weren't. Okay, so I'm watching the stream, and it shows me freezing at times. So maybe that's why it's there's a lag as well. So what you guys are seeing is in the past by about 10 seconds. And I guess it does that so that when it freezes up, it catches up and then freezing up every now and again. Okay, well, there you go. That's settled. Yeah, Wardrobe's played that. I haven't played it. I don't know much about it, but I can't imagine you'd call it Panzer Blitz and have it not have anything to do with Panzer Blitz. So there's that. Depending on the amount of freezing up I do and how often, again, we'll see how that goes, and may have to cut the stream and start in a different light. What else is going on? I have some show notes here. We have enough for a quorum yet? Looks like we got about half a dozen people watching. Oh, and the get up here is not necessarily to look cool or whatever. It's cold in here, and I have another problem. Not to go back to that, and then I'll shut up. I promise. No, it's a good thing to order from the sale, John. The Panzer Blitz, but I have a ventless gas heater on the wall. I'm a mess, and it heats fine, but the heat that it creates by burning gas creates moisture. The burning of the gas and the oxygen, right? Science. And these outside walls, they get massive condensation on them, especially from the floor up, like the baseboards, because of the cold and the hot and the gas heater. And last night, I'm running my hand along, and it's just wet with condensation. Now, on to my left is shelves of games, and games and wet don't mix well. So I had to pull games away from the wall. I pulled bed away from the wall. Anyway, what a mess. I had that to deal with. So, in order to counteract that, I just run the space heaters, which they do an okay job, but not good enough. And I would add that these ceilings are probably, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 feet high in these damn houses. And there's that as well. So let me shed some light on the subject here. There we go. Ring light seems to be the new thing on the block. The ring lights that you can get for cameras. Put your camera in there, but they work great for illuminating anything you want to see. M&P when did M&P have a sale? Was that recently? Was it the Christmas thing? Did they have a Christmas sale? Still going? The sale's still going? Okay. All right, enough about being cold and whatnot. I will also add, for those of you that are unfamiliar with me or this channel, to first of all subscribe. Go ahead and do that now. I'll wait. Okay, you got it? I'm Jason, and better known as AJ Toynbee, also the Hexes and Soldiers guy. I have this here YouTube channel, and then I have the Facebook page. They are the same side of two different coins, or the two different sides of the same coin, however you want to look at it. And I don't know. I started wargaming before I knew how to war game, when you open the thing up and you look at the stuff and you set things up and you try and read the rules, but it's just overwhelming, so you make up your own thing. From the time I was young enough to do that until my first bona fide game that I learned how to play, which was Battle Hymn from Victory Games. The rest is history. I've been back and forth all over the map, miniatures, X Encounter, this, that, and the other. Always like to fiddle with games, which in a roundabout way ended up in a short adventure as far as a game company, and that would be H&S Games. H&S, of course, short for Hexes and Soldiers. Did a number of games under my own egress. Let's see, Platoon Leader, Advanced Platoon Leader. Some things that I'm forgetting. It's been a while. Kind of proud of that. Didn't have too much help. Designing them was all me. Playtesting was pretty much all me. Production and design, as far as graphics and things, was unfortunately all me. There's a lot left to be desired there. But did okay. I made enough money there for a little bit to make it worth my while to keep going. But throwing the towel wasn't fun anymore. And when it comes to designing because you feel like you have to create new content to keep your company relevant, that's the wrong reason to design a game. A couple other things happened with a weird copyright claim issue for an image that was used on the Hexes and Soldiers magazine. Breaking news. This is old news, actually, but I've never really officially talked about this. But that's was in play as well. Won't go into the details there, but in order to play it safe, and I was ready to throw in the towel anyway, I pulled the plug on H&S Games, and that was that. So, but no regrets there. And the games, if anybody's still interested, if you go to Board Game Geek, you can still contact me that way and obtain a game that I've come up with, that being, of course, again, Platoon Leader, Advanced Platoon Leader, things like that. These are all solitaire friendly, because that's how I play most of my games. And I would add that the games that I did design are games that I enjoy playing. So they're from the heart. And been a long time coming for this YouTube channel. I'm approaching, which I'm both proud and embarrassed to say, I'm about 50 subscribers shy of 1,000, which is awesome. But my God, I've been doing this for 7 years. I think I'd have hit the 1,000 plateau before now, but it is what it is, I guess. And so there's that. Might do something special to coincide with the arrival of 1,000 subscribers, but who the hell knows when that'll be, because the rate at which I accrue subscribers is so slow. That could be 6 months from now, if not a year. Hard to say. Although the numbers have been up lately, and I hate to pay too much attention to numbers because they're boring, right? And nobody really cares. And it doesn't really reflect anything real. If you're just doing videos, again, as something that means something to you, that'll reflect in the videos you're doing. You know, I've seen videos on how to grow your channel and things like that, and some of the suggestions they throw out there is ridiculous. Like, set a schedule and make sure you do a video every so often. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, well, let's say you don't feel like doing a video that day, but you got to keep your schedule. That video is going to suck, because who wants to watch it? You know, you're just doing it because you feel like you got to meet a schedule. So there's that. And this is how the night's going to go. I mean, I'm going to be all over the place, and you guys are all welcome to, I'm reading the comments as they go, to chime in and ask questions or throw things at the screen. Who knows? Whatever you can come up with. What do we have next? Shout-outs. Shout out to the usual suspects that support me and come on when I'm streaming and give thumbs and likes. I don't want to list names, because then if I leave people out, then they feel left out. Kenneth, thank you for subscribing, sir, and welcome to the fold. Kenneth Cloby, new subscriber. That's awesome. Appreciate that. So yeah, shout outs to the usual suspects. You guys know who you are. Your support is greatly appreciated, and it does not go unnoticed. I would add that first topic of the evening, it has never been a better time to like war games, and with all sincerity, that is an honest statement. And it goes so deep with this wargaming thing these days, and we'll get into counter arguments. But it goes so deep that you don't even have to necessarily play war games anymore to enjoy war games. You've got this, for instance, and you can watch people play pretty much any game that you're interested in. They're not all on here, but in time, over time, people will have posted pretty much anything and everything. But again, that said, you don't even necessarily have to push counters around. You find something you want to watch, you watch it, people play it for you. What other era is there that we can do that? Go get your wine. My wine is some game company's. John pulling out the jokes there from the top drawer already. The wine, we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to do a cheap poor man's wine tasting here. And yeah, we'll get to that in a second, but I do have that on tap. What else do I have on tap? I got some crappy cheese to go with my wine, and I have some vinyl records to share, some of my faves to bounce off of you guys. Don't know if I'll be able to get away with playing snippets from them because I don't want my channel taken down, but we'll see how it goes. But that's on tap, among other things. But again, yeah, never a better time to be a wargamer. And you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, just to go anywhere. Look at all the groups on Facebook. Look at the YouTube channels. Go to Board Game Geek. It's all over the place. And funnily enough, you do come across these folks who cry wolf, and for whatever reason, you can come up with your own theories. They're under the impression that the hobby's dying, and I'm not going to hash all this out again, I promise, and it's not a cheap clickbait thing and keep you guys interested, but it is something that you guys are obviously interested in because I know. Because over the years, putting things on that Facebook Hexes and Soldiers page, I've been able to narrow it down to about 3 things you guys respond to without fail. Anything else, you don't have much of an interest in it. God bless you. And I'm probably the same way. But anything with a tank, you guys love it. I get all kinds of great responses. An image with a tank. It could say Ghibli Gook, but as long as I have an image with a tank on there, that gets a great response. Images in general get a pretty good response. Anytime I put up something that entails a bit of reading, you guys don't typically like that too much. Anytime I try and tie in a video from YouTube that is like, say, a suggestion for you guys to watch, you don't typically like that too much. It's pretty interesting, and it's not a judgment thing. It's just an observation to learn what folks respond to and what they don't. But that said, and my point in bringing that up is, see, you guys are distracting me here with your clever, witty comments. The point in bringing that up is I posted something recently, and it was not a cheap shot at trying to get responses and stir the pot, because I understand that there's folks out there that do that, and they just want to stir things up. I don't know how else to put it. Not my intention, and I'm not, nobody's forced to respond to anything I post on that page. You don't even have to read it. But for whatever reason, that particular post, which dealt with a gentleman on YouTube about 3 years ago, decides that he's under the impression that the wargaming hobby is waning, it's dying, not what it used to be, and he has his reasons for believing this, and many of us may or may not agree with him. That's fine. He's entitled to his opinions. I don't slander him for his opinions. Some of those opinions more or less make sense, but again, it's a subjective perspective thing, and for him, you can't argue against it. For him, for whatever reason, which he states a few, he's perceiving the hobby as dying, and you could argue, well, you need to expand your world and interact with folks that are interested in the things you are, and all that and stuff. But bottom line is, he's under the opinion that the wargaming hobby is dying. So I thought, well, that's interesting, and maybe that'll spark some discussion. I'm sure there's folks that feel differently. So I posted it, and then 60 comments later, which is probably the most that I've ever had as far as a response from folks who felt very passionately on the subject. I suspected, but I had no idea that folks felt this. And I don't want to say enraged, but obviously you can tell people felt obligated to throw in their 2 cents regarding this topic. Now, is it because you could argue, who are they trying to convince? Okay, themselves or other folks who they feel disagree with them, right? So it's strange, but quite a response on that, and I would say predominantly, the majority of you strongly, a hard disagreement on the wargaming hobby dying. And I think it was specific. And if you go to the Hexes and Soldiers, this is not a plug, but if you go to the Hexes and Soldiers Facebook page, that article is there. It's relatively recent. You'll see what I mean. And you can go and look at the video that the guy did and get more specifics, right? Because I'm leaving things out. I think he focused specifically on the hex and counter aspect of war games. That's dying. But again, is it? I have to say it's probably subjective and a perspective thing. So I mean, if you have one friend or no friends, and you don't know where to go on the internet by way of various sites where like-minded people congregate and hang out, Consim World, etc., you're gonna think the sky is falling, right? So maybe that's what's going on with this guy. But again, you guys feel very strongly about that, and that's I guess that's a good thing. War gamers are passionate folks. So wargaming hobby dying. Feel free to post your opinions in the chat here, ask questions, or accuse me of baiting you guys into discussions or whatever. But for every argument you find, or for every theory or thesis, you can find an equal counter argument or antithesis or opposing theory. And sure enough, it took 30 seconds, and I find this article that's written in November. I posted that as well, talking about how the wargaming hobby is booming, never before, right? And so, who knows? It's a crazy thing, but I personally, I don't feel like it's far from dying. I don't know what this guy's referring to specifically, hex and counter wise. If there's no more Avalon Hill, so yeah, it died in that respect. There's no more victory games. But for all those companies that are gone, right, and not creating content anymore, how many more have come along to replace them? I mean, Jesus, it's there's more now than ever, and you also have to expand your definition. That you can't just say hex and counter thing, right? You have to expand your definition semantically and talk about what a war game is, because if you have this rigid, very strict denotative definition of war game, yeah, it's probably perceivably dying to you. But if you have a proper definition of war game, you'll understand that. As I look just at these shelves, you've got the Euro-esque-ish flavored war games pouring in now, the card-driven games. You still got a flurry of hex and counter games. You've got this, you've got that. I mean, not to mention the PC stuff. I mean, you're still playing a war game, technically. Even with Vassal, I mean, you could argue that's a PC game, even though it's on the screen. You're still moving counters around and pieces on the screen. I mean, you're still playing a war game, so if you expand your definition of the subject, you're going to realize that the wargaming hobby is not dying. Maybe I'm just speaking to a fence post here, but that's my 2 cents. Check a few comments here because it's hard to speak and not distract myself at the same time. Conflict Magazine offers some wisdom. A form of wargaming is slipping into the past, but wargaming is fine and growing. Agree? People with opinions suck also. Succinctly put it, Jean Longshore. Let's see. I would love for the conversation about the hobby dying to die. Yeah, well, that's funny, and maybe it should. Maybe if we just stop responding when we see something that is along those lines, that conversation will die. I've done my part to resuscitate it, but maybe we should all just let it go. Backyard goat herding is on its death throes, though. Yeah, that's a hot topic to argue about. Backyard goat herding, and I get your point there, John. Conflict ads, just think of war game magazines that come with a game. Yes, Golden Age, one major, a few minors. Today, can't even keep track of all the magazine games, and the damn things sell. Yeah, right. So there's that as well. I mean, another burgeoning aspect of the wargaming hobby, the magazines that have games in those. I mean, I think you only could count on one hand probably the amount of wargame magazines back in the day that came with a game. Just to the top of my head, Command Magazine, right? Strategy and Tactics. But very few, and now there's a ton of them. And as far as Wardrobe says, what I love is that we have these channels to communicate with each other. Yes, we do. He's made friends from around the country, as many of us have, around the world, because of Board Game Geek, YouTube, Facebook, blogs, etc. So again, yeah, never a better time to be a wargamer, and you don't have to resort to the back of a magazine to find people with the same interest. How about that? Can you imagine living life like that? Send a snail mail to a magazine and have them post your article and wait for the article to post and then wait for somebody to mail a response regarding a game that you wonder if somebody has a similar interest in. I mean, what a mess. People had a lot of patience in the olden time days, yesteryear. The form of wargaming that is dying, are large games, monsters, traditional hex and counter games that are basically a puzzle. So again, that can be argued. I both agree and disagree with that statement. I would add that for whatever reason, the culture, the lifestyle we live in, your hobbies, what you do, tends to mesh, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, with that lifestyle or culture. And if you live a life of limited time and an attention span, a time span that I don't want to say that you don't have, but you're unwilling to devote to a certain thing for an extended amount of time, you're not going to play those things. That's simple as that. I'm one of those. There was a time a few years ago that the bigger the game, I thought, the more interesting, the more engrossing that it would be. That's not necessarily true. I think it's like an optical illusion. But these days, yeah, and I think about it when I do these videos, and you'll notice, if you're savvy enough, which most of you, if not all of my subscribers are, to realize that Hexes and Soldiers guy, he rarely, if ever, plays a game, say, for instance, a campaign or a turn after turn after turn after turn. You're right, I don't. I play a game long enough to get whatever I'm trying to get out of it, and then when my attention span goes to something else, when I get a inspiration for a different era or a different mechanic, or I want to switch something, and what would it work like if I take an ice cream scooper and scoop this part of the game out of here and put it in the bowl of this game, and then that game's done, right? So that's where I'm at, and I tend not to play a lot of these Monsters games, and it's really sad because, you can't see up, but I've got Streets of Stalingrad, right? I mean, I'm sure that's an awesome game, but I wouldn't know because I've never had it on the table. And I don't have 6 people to play it with me, because ideally that's what you would want. Playing these things solo is doable, but my God, you have to have a dedicated time factor to do so. Matt Chestnut, let's see. Just got another SCS game in the mail from the gamers. Looks fairly traditional, and there are plenty more out there like it. Yeah, Matt, probably more monsters that fit that description in the last few years than in the decade of the 90s. Keep in mind, Matt, blah, blah, blah. I find myself going back to Hex Encounter games, not so big on cards and wooden blocks meeples, although I own a few. Now, Kenneth, here's where you and I are diverging. As I get older and time goes on, I find myself... I find the path that I tread is veering more towards the tabletop, I guess you'll call it miniatures thing. I don't know what else to call it. I try and integrate, because I still like this stuff, and I try and integrate this stuff to the tabletop with the, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's a show in and of itself. How to juxtapose, how to transmogrify something from a boxed war game onto a tabletop setting. It's doable. Some games are easier to do than others because there's great systems in here. And probably my main problem with, and I forgot what I was talking about before I segued to this, but probably the main problem with a lot of these rules and rule books for miniatures tabletop games is they lack the quality and structure and depth, in my opinion, of these Hex Encounter games. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's easier to publish a set of tabletop gaming rules as opposed to a bona fide boxed game, which I want to argue that you need a company logo on it for somebody to buy it, but it's a little bit more challenging to get your ideas out there via the box game. So I don't know. Yeah, minis on maps. So that's the. So my point was, Kenneth, you say you're going back to the Hex Encounter games. Maybe in my future I will make a hard 180 and dive back into just hardcore cardboard stuff, but as time goes on, I find myself veering out of it a little. I would also add that the gamer stuff, and I don't know if you call it the gamer stuff anymore, it's through M&P, but the OCS, SCS, I find it commendable that folks still dig this stuff. I want to tread lightly here. It's not that I don't like this stuff. I have a healthy respect for it. I've got a ton of stuff accordingly to reflect my like. And probably I shouldn't just pick on OCS. Maybe it's a Hex Encounter thing, or maybe it's a particular historical battle or era thing. But my excitement... Let me put it this way. My excitement level when a new Hex Encounter game comes out is nowhere what it used to be. And I'm talking just like a couple years ago even. Because it seems like, and again, I'm going to sound like a negative weirdo trying to bring everybody down and be a drag. I'm not, but it seems like a lot of the same stuff that's already out there, right? And how much more of that stuff? I've got shelves and shelves of things that of the same, and I'm finding it harder to justify needing more of the same. And it's like, I have this edition of this game, and well, shoot fire, there's a new edition of it. In the past, I would have had to have it, but I mean, what's the point? I mean, is there that much difference in the old edition from the new edition that I need this edition? I'm a completist, so I got to have both editions, and I have to have the update kit, and then that's another thing that I've complained about in the past is these update kits, and especially UGMT. I love you guys, but if somebody pays good money for a game and then 6 months later you come out with an update kit and you charge somebody who's already purchased the game from you for that update kit, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it. If somebody has purchased that game from you and you come up with an update kit for it, You should supply, I'm serious, I'll pay shipping, but you should supply that update kit for free. Or don't release the game until you can release it with the update kit, updated. Otherwise, you're releasing this stuff when it's not done or it's not ready. I don't know. But again, I probably sound like a crotchety, whiny old bastard. But again, and you got to be careful with what you complain about, because you could argue that too much of a good thing is not a bad thing, right? So the more games, the better, and and I understand that. But my discriminating filter of what games that I thought I needed in the past and what games I'm willing to not only pay for now but spend time playing has really tightened up these days. So I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Let's see. I saw Normandy Hassle. When is the speaking of which, when is that supposed that fabled Normandy historical ASL module that's been going to come out for years and years and years got jumped by the Manila historical Sword and Fire, right? ASL thing. That really irritated me. But to bolster a point that I made earlier, they're at least delving into a topic that is not overly done, right? I mean, how many damn D-Day games do we have? Bulge games. But you don't see a whole lot of, for instance, action in Manila. So, I'll tip my hat to them for that. I won't touch OCS, but SCS is very accessible. I'm weird with that. So the OCS that I've played in the past, if I'm able to dedicate myself enough to the rule set to know it fluidly, it requires a certain amount of time and a certain number of playthroughs to get there. It's hard to just pick it up once every 6 months and play, because you forget things. And it's not that the rules are confusing, but there's little things that you forget to do unless you play over and over, right? So I appreciate OCS for its depth, but the SCS stuff, whenever I play it, I feel guilty. I feel like I'm cheating on OCS. I feel like OCS is going, come on, am I that hard to hang out with? Am I that guy? You're going to hang out with SCS, what, because he's easy to hang out with? And you're not going to hang out with me because I'm a little more challenging, right? So this stuff goes through my head. Don't give up on paper wargaming yet. Well, I haven't. And you have a copy of the toolbox coming your way if I can just get it done. Yeah, I remember you talking about that conflict. Let's see. Bill says there's 853 pre-orders for ASL Sword and Fire Manila. Oh, wow, that's great. So there you go. I mean, and anything ASL, it hits its pre-order fairly quickly, but 853 for that is, I would say that's a testament to something that is not, again, a battle, an area of the wargaming niche that isn't touched on often enough, perhaps. SCS is cheap, and you don't have to learn a new rule set. SCS is fun. Well, there you go. Sometimes you just want cheap fun, right? And that could apply to a lot of aspects of life, not just wargames, eh? I think it's okay to narrow what you buy. I agree on what I buy. I've narrowed it down to just 3 storage units. Well, mighty proud of you there, John. And as someone said, it's hit its pre-order number quickly. Anything else? I'm still talking about Manila. All right, so what else? Moving down the list here. If I talk about myself, that's because that's what I know. And the old adage goes, talk about what you know, right? Write about what you know if you're a writer. I probably don't know anything better than I know myself, so if I seem a little self-absorbed, I'm talking about what I know. Don't take it the wrong way. But for those of you that are my used to seeing me quite regularly and vice versa, it was a bit of a 3-week hiatus that I've been on. I did throw my back out, and I'm not going to get into the history of my back, but that laid me out for about 2 weeks. And I bring this up for nothing else, for somewhat, at least now, looking back on it, funny story, but go to the doctor finally, waiting to get a doctor's appointment scheduled. You wouldn't think takes days and days when you're in pain and can barely move, but that's what it takes. Anyway, I go to the doctor, and of course they want to prescribe this and prescribe that, and I don't want this stuff. I don't want, Percocet and Percodan and all this crap. I don't want to be on that stuff. I know what it can do to people. I know how easy it is to get addicted to it. So we compromise, and he prescribes this, it's like an ibuprofen, anti-inflammatory base type thing, but it's really powerful. And some muscle relaxers, and then we call it a day, right? So I come home, and I lay out my drugs for the day on the kitchen table, and I leave the room, and I come back. Now, I know the cat doesn't get on the kitchen table. At least she knows she's not supposed to, but apparently she's been getting up there unbeknownst to me. So there's that. And I come back, and I'm looking at the pills that I've laid out, and one's missing, and one looks like it's been chewed up and like hacked out. Cat thing, right? So I'm thinking, I know I laid out this specific number of pills. Where's the other pill? I can't find it. The cat's eating it. Has to have eaten it. I know it's eating it. It's gone. I can't find it. I laid it here. It's not here. The other one's chewed up. I don't know why she didn't eat the other pill. She ate one. But anyway, so I am. I wait all day at the doctor's office. I just want to come home and relax, and take my pills, take my drugs, right, and just have a nice evening. And I have to call the vet, and they're like, "Can I help you?" And I say, "I'm the guy that's like, yeah, my cat's taking my drugs, and I don't know what to do." That guy. They're probably like, Jesus Christ, drug addict on the phone here, and the cat's gotten into a stash, and it's not like that. I don't even like taking, over the counter ibuprofen. I'll linger in pain before I do. I don't like pills. But anyway, cat's taking this pill. Well, what kind of pill is it? How many milligrams is it? How big's your cat? All this stuff. And I don't know. I don't know how big my cat is. She's a smaller size than a normal sized cat. I don't know how much she weighs on a scale. And but anyway, we got it worked out. And long story short, for whatever reason, this is similar, if not the same thing, that they give these animals when they bring them into the vet to relax them or calm them for not surgery, but if they have if they're fussy or something, right? So keep an eye on her, make sure she doesn't stop breathing. She'll be fine. Well, that's not good enough for me, so I have to look up what's going to happen to my cat, right? And that's a no-no. Once you start looking things up, you've got everybody and their uncle posting what they think's going to happen, what's happened to their uncle's neighbor's cat, and all these urban myth stories now. And now I've got it in my head that my cat's going to go into convulsions and explode, basically. And I'm waiting for that to happen. And sure enough, here comes the cat, and she's got the staggery walk, and she's looking at me like, "What have you done to me?" And I didn't do anything to you. You did this to yourself. And she tries to hop up on her normal cat perch and falls off and blows a tire. And so now I got to hold on to her so she doesn't try and jump on something and fall and break her neck or something. And it's not looking good. And then about 45 minutes of this goes by, and then the cat's fine. It's like a light switch. And she's just like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So the cat made it. Funny story now, but I'm thinking, I'm going to be the guy responsible for the death of his own cat. I killed my cat. So that was a fun, interesting little adventure with the back thing. But roundabout, long story short, my back was hurting so bad, I couldn't sit like I'm doing now to do this. So that was out. And I couldn't stand long enough to game anything. So it was all like, if you come over, it looked like a 90-year-old man lived here with the couch laid out with the heating pad on the couch and the this and the that and the pill bottles and what a mess, right? So, but I'm doing significantly better now. As it turns out, I had torn my oblique muscle. If an oblique muscle means anything into anybody, then good for you. It's a lower muscle in your back. Tore it. I didn't tear it in half or whatever, but you can tear these things. And I ride my bike pretty vigorously and do crazy yoga stuff. So who knows what I did there? But there's a story for you. And if I could relate back to what I was talking about earlier, never been a better time to be a gamer, right? Let me give a few shout outs. And I said I don't want to do this because I didn't want to leave anybody out and make anybody feel bad, but just for way of example, right? And I've noticed, and I do notice things. You've got folks like the Chief from Bonnie with board games. He's doing good things. He's putting in the work and doing a lot of live broadcasts and whatnots to by way of creating content. Because you can be one of the many that complain and don't do anything, or you can be one of the few that get off your butt and try and do something for the hobby, for everybody else, to help improve whatever it is that you're complaining about, right? So these are folks that I, again, tip my hat to for doing this. No Enemies here, Dan Pancaldi. He's, without fail, does his weekly show, and it was always very enjoyable to watch. Who else we have? The War Room, I've noticed, is starting to chuck out episodes. I'm getting there, man, with the wine and the cheese. I'm getting there. John Krantz is doing good stuff. He does quality stuff. And I would add that he just had a fellow New Orleans native on, Sean Chick. And I've mentioned this in the past. I don't want to beat a dead horse. And maybe the guy's a personal guy, doesn't like his laundry aired out. But I work at the library, and he comes in all the time and gets a lot of his research material from my library. And we converse briefly, and I think we did lunch once one day. Probably more out of obligation than anything else, because, hey, you do this thing, and I do this thing. We're supposed to, on paper, really get along and hang out. Well, for whatever reason, it didn't work out so good. But he's a nice guy, and putting New Orleans on the map there with some of his game designs, and he's got some new stuff coming out. So hats off to Sean Chick. And I think that Ardwolf, can't forget Ardwolf's Lair. He's doing some good stuff. In fact, man, that guy, I don't know where he gets the stamina. I guess he's officially dedicated his life to wargaming and making a go of making a living out of wargaming, because the amount of time that he puts into his videos and live streams and gameplay is probably unrivaled at this time. So, again, I bring these things up because like I said earlier, you don't even necessarily have to play war games. You tune into any of these channels, any of these other channels that I haven't even mentioned. There are a ton of great content creators out there. And just sit back and enjoy wargaming. Like I said, you don't even necessarily, ironically, have to own a war game or play. You just sit back and enjoy. That's the world we're living in. Cover this briefly as possible because I think it needs mentioning, or maybe it doesn't. I would argue that it does. Colin Dale going through a hard time. Bless his heart. He doesn't. The only way he knows how to deal with anything is to post videos about it. Many of you, perhaps myself included, would not be quite so candid or forthcoming with information regarding one's personal life. But again, we don't all deal with and process things in the same way that everybody else does. So I won't go into too much detail here, but suffice to say the man is yet again going through some trying times. I watched a number of his videos relating to this most recent trial of his soul, and wish him the best. And I guess thank you for sharing, man. I mean, if it helps you, that's all that matters. Keeping on with the keeping on, and if this gets you through what you're trying to get through, then keep them coming. I mean, well, it's not a war game. It doesn't deal with war games. Well, these are people, man. I mean, these aren't just like machines that just do war games and that's it. We all have lives and other things going on, and just so happens some of us already have this outlet to use to reach out and express emotions and feelings, and it's better than keeping them in. And not everybody has the luxury or capability of psychologists or psychotherapists, so hence you guys, right? You guys, free psychotherapy. So keep Colin Dale in our thoughts because he's part of the wargaming family. So that brings us to, let's just segue into the wine. I've hemmed and hawed and carried on enough. I don't even know how long I've been going on. I don't see a timestamp for anything. Wow. Okay. So what I've got here is now. I don't care for. I notice a lot of you guys like booze. Booze. The drink booze, drinking, Booze. Those two, but booze. I hate booze. I don't like hardcore alcohol. I don't know why the stream's freezing. Let's see what happens here. So again, if this freezing on the stream gets too cumbersome for you guys to enjoy, give me a hey-hoo, and we'll cut this stream and go to the basic YouTube stream. Yeah. So, and I apologize. I've missed a lot of the comments because I've been running my mouth, but I'm trying to keep track of anything. Stiegler? Where is Stiegler? Yeah, where is Stiegler? He's probably playing a game. All right. So, yeah. So keep me abreast of. I noticed it freezes every so often. Shouldn't freeze at all. I have the best, most expensive internet feed that money can buy illegally, so there shouldn't be a problem there. It would be a setting in the OBS software itself that I am unaware of or ignorant of. Anyway, enough of that. So yeah, I don't like booze. But I noticed you guys, a lot of you guys out there, like the whiskey, and this is the scotch, and this is the this, and I don't like any of it. It's awful. I do like beer, specifically Guinness. We all know that, and I do like champagne. But I also like red wine. I hate white wine. I hate refrigerated cold wine, but I like red wine. And over the years, I've come across a few favorites that I could throw out there that you guys may or may not be aware of, and these are affordable, right? This isn't like $60, $75, $80 bottles of wine. Freezing again. Don't know what. All I need is a shout out that this sucks, and we'll cut the feed and go to a different one. Okay, I've said that enough. So the first one I have here is Robert Mondavi. And if I cut to this, I can see what I'm seeing. Right? Robert Mondavi. Let's just do this. There we go, Robert Mondavi. And this was, I'll give you a price. I took pictures. What? People probably thought I was a nutty person. I took pictures while I was there. So this was on sale. It's normally $15.99, right? You can get this, hold on to your hats, for $15 at your grocery store. This Robert Mondavi wine, which a lot of restaurants will serve because it's that good, and people don't pay attention. They don't realize that it's just cheap grocery store wine. This is Merlot, which was rum barrel aged, for those of you that are into that. And the year on this is no year. So that's great. Well, there you go. Get what you pay for. Oh, here we go. Now, 2018. So there's your Robert Mondavi Merlot. Okay, there you go. All right, see you guys later. No, then we have. This is one of my first favorite cheap. Okay, let's get this wine again, and look for it when we're out of wine. When I was with my ex. So Carnivore is a great cheap wine as well. This is going to cost you. Well, the phone just pooped out on me. Carnivore is going to run you, you ready? A little steep, $11. I don't know if you guys can swing that, but if you find yourself with a little extra disposable income, maybe you get a bonus check at work one week, you can throw that towards a bottle of Carnivore. This is also 2018. I don't even know why I'm reading the date. There's not going to be any impressive dates on any of these wines. From California, it says. And we'll get into the details of these wines. And the last one, I just did 3. I also like Chianti. But this is a Malbec, and this is a recent discovery of mine, Malbecs. I had no idea. I didn't know I liked them. I didn't know they liked me. But the feeling is mutual for sure. And I'll give you a guess on the date. Yeah, 2018. And I guess 2018 was a good year for grocery store wine. Big boom in the industry. This is Coppola. This is the brand. And Francis Coppola, right, the director, Godfather, blah, blah, blah. It's not just a gimmick. It's good stuff. And here for a while, I think the past few weeks, I've been drinking the Coppola Merlot with meals. And that's typically when I drink wine, right? So I'll have a glass with food or with dinner or with a meal. But I got to go back to here and see what anybody said here. Get the spinning arrow every few minutes. I don't know why that's happening. Maybe we'll do the wine segment and then cut and go to normal YouTube. I'll pass on smell. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a wine snob at all. Trust me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just know what I like. And the only technical wine term that I ever know or learned is tannins. That's all you need to know, because I was trying to figure out what it was that I liked about wine, the wine that I like. And it's the drier tart, makes you pucker type thing. It's tannins, right? That's what I'm trying to describe. That's the word. And that's what I like. So that's typically the kind of wines I go for. So, all right. So enough of that. Let's open. Let's get this carnivore out of the way and see if I like it as much as I remember. Houston, you guys make it all right? Power, they were cutting power for folks, right? To ensure that rolling blackouts, is that what it's called? Is that what I'm trying to say? There's a nice face for you. That's my wine pulling face. I've worked on that in the mirror for years, but I think I finally got it down. And then I have my little Alice in Wonderland glass. I don't have wine glasses because I'm a cheap bastard, but I have a little Alice in Wonderland glass. Looks like she's in some bit of duress there with a stack of cards attacking her and some little bird thing and a goose under her skirt and some... Okay, anyway, I don't know what's going on there, but... Now, you could argue, well, you're supposed to let the wine air. This is cheap grocery store wine. It ain't going to make it any better if you let it aerate or if you pour it over a block of granite or whatever the hell else these people do. Doesn't make a bit of difference. You just pour the wine and drink it. That's how you do it. It's grocery store wine. So this is the carnivore, and it says it is great with red meat. So it has... I don't know. How are you supposed to know what layered is? It has layered. What does that mean? Layered with hints of rich blackberry, which I love blackberries. Every salad I eat salads all the time. Always put blackberries on them. Luscious caramel. I'm down with that. And smooth toasted oak. So indulge your primal side with carnivore. Come on. With the cheesy tagline. All right, so this is carnivore. Not as good as I remember. Maybe it's the Merlot that I want. It just tastes kind of icky. That's my official review of the Carnivore Cabernet Sauvignon, one of my apparently 3 favorite wines. It's a little icky. It's kind of cold because it's cold in here. Hence the hat, and it's not just for fashion's sake. It's cold in here. I already said that. So it just tastes kind of vinegary. Viper Dave, you were out of power for 36 hours. You're back, though? Is he back? Oh, obviously he's back, but I mean, he could be somewhere else. He could have migrated somewhere. Sweet wine, yeah. There's a wine for everybody out there. I don't like the sweet wines. I don't like the cold wines. Mad Dog 2020. Okay, there you go. Yeah, just give me a bottle of Ripple and shut up, right? Fred Sanford's favorite wine. Now, here's the cheese. This is English cheddar. English cheddar. Now, what I typically like is manchego, right? Manchego. So the cheeses that, I guess I like my cheese like I like my wine. The drier the cheese, the better. With the little crystals. And I thought that was just in my imagination. Like it was only a thing that I picked up on. It's like there are actually little crystals in cheese that they're kind of crunchy. And then I asked this lady the other day, I said, well, she asked me, what are you looking for? I'm like, well, I'm looking for cheese. And do you have any good white cheddar? And yeah, we've got this and we've got that. And she says, but this one has the little crystals in it. And I thought, oh my God, somebody else. There's another one of us. There's others out there that likes the crystal crunchies in cheese. All right, so, and I forgot the crackers. Maybe I can do okay without the crackers. Oh, man. Perfect. The cheese is perfect. Those crystals are in there. English cheddar by Excalibur, classic English cheese. Oh my god. My question is, why don't they make pizzas out of gourmet cheese? Why is it always just mozzarella? I don't get it. We're missing out a lot on life in a lot of respects. We really are. Pizza has by no means peaked and seen its limitations. The sky's the limit with that. We haven't even explored it. Well, sure, we'll go to the moon, though, and all this stuff. Nobody cares about expanding the horizons of pizza. All right, so this is the... and the other thing I'll apologize for in advance is I get wine lips, so it looks like I'm wearing lipstick. Go figure. Drink cheap wine, you get wine lips. But so this is the Coppola Malbec. And I got to finish the... Now, here's something else you could argue with wine. All these wargamers that tuned in to watch somebody talk about freaking wine. So don't you kind of ruin whatever you taste as your first wine? Aren't you kind of ruined after that? So you could say, well, you've got to clean your palate or whatever. But, Carnivore still tasting a little funky to me. I don't know what, maybe 2018 was a bad year for Carnivore, but it's not hitting me. So here's something you could do, right? You could pair these wines with games. How would you do that? Well, the easiest way to do it would be to find one of the most brutal period games with just casualties left and right and argue red wine. I don't know. Maybe that's in poor taste. Wine from 7-Eleven. Yeah, go to Aldi's. You guys have Aldi's? They actually sell alcohol there. I think you can get like $2 bottles of wine there. I'm like, God, what are you drinking? I mean, what am I drinking now? I don't know. But interestingly enough, if you leave this wine, say you leave it out too long, I don't know, maybe overnight, and then you pour it in the sink, look at what you're pouring out. It's not even liquid. Like, the initial part's liquid, and there's this like weird stuff that is settled in the bottom. What even is it? All right, we're done with Carnivore for tonight. I don't know what it is. It's not impressing me. I'm trying to get rid of the rest of this. We're moving on to the Coppola Malbec. All right, let's see what we do with the Coppola Malbec. Oh, that smells significantly different. It's an interesting smell here. What's it say? It says 1 to 2 players, 30 to 40 minutes. Let's see. It says Malbec delivers lush, velvety flavors of plums, black cherries, and whatever the hell a cassis is. Cassie? Along with aromatic spice notes and a unique mineral character. Now there you go. You could use that on your wife or girlfriend. Do I sense some aromatic spice notes lingering about your neck this evening? And she'll probably like split and say you're a weirdo. Delicious with grilled meats. Of course you're going to say that. That's what I mean, that's the half the people that you were going to try to sell to as the carnivores that grill and want steaks and red wine, right? So here we go. This is the Malbec from Coppola. I expect good things. I didn't get much anything out of that. It's like a muted. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the flavor's like muted. If that makes any sense. So this is like too overly flavorful, vinegary, whatever, and it's too laid back. It's weird. It's like smooth or something. It's almost like it's not wine. It's like a flavored water or something. It's weird. It's not bad. It's just it's. And here again, these are supposed to be my favorite wines, and I'm poo-pooing them. All right, yeah. What else? So specifically, this very vinegary carnivore Cabernet Sauvignon would pair well with. You want to pair that with Battle Above the Clouds, okay? So whenever you decide you want to play this game, you want to accompany this game with a grocery store bottle of carnivore Cabernet Sauvignon, specifically from 2018, and good things will happen. The wine brings out the flavor of the game and vice versa. They really complement each other well. So that's what you want to do with that. With the Malbec, very, very plain, kind of muted flavor. You're going to want to pair that with, let's find a good one here. Let's see. I don't know about that. It would be, putting too much thought into this. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. The game designer be like, hey, let's do this. Let's pair it with Stalingrad Pocket, okay? Now, just because you have Stalingrad in the name doesn't mean every game named Stalingrad is worth its weight in gold. That does not to say this is a bad game, but it's a very muted, kind of safe flavor game-wise that you can pair with the Malbec, and they will quietly complement each other in a very unspoken way. You know, it's just understood. So you could do that. I was going to argue that any SCS game could be paired with Malbec, but again, I don't want to offend anyone. So, working on the Malbec still. Yeah, this wine is just way too safe. I don't know why would you drink this? I think that you would drink this if you don't like wine. So people that don't like wine, they like Malbecs because it's just like, it's like nothing. I like Malbec. Why? Because it tastes like nothing. Well, you know, I mean, I'm the big dummy that got it thinking I liked Malbecs. Maybe it was a different brand that I liked. All right, what else? Let's check some comments here and take a breather. Let it breathe. So you do have to let it breathe, even if it's cheap grocery store wine. Let's see. How's the spinning arrow doing? Are we still getting a lot of spinny arrows? I don't drink. It reminds me of college. Why? You know, I have to say, I can't remember the last time I was drunk. I don't drink often. When I do drink wine, it's like I said, a glass with a meal. Gourmet cheese doesn't melt. Are you serious? That's not a. You pulling my leg on that? Maybe my palate is shot. Yeah, maybe. All right. So still working on the Malbec. What else we got here? I see I've lost a number of viewers. Not into the wine tasting thing. I don't blame you. What's on the table? Gee whiz. I'll give you one guesses. Napoleonic stuff. But I was able to upgrade the terrain. The Callistra Hexon terrain tiles that I've join together to form one grand battlefield. I've gotten sloped hexes, and that is to say, maybe I can reach one here, so that there is contour to the hills. It's a thing, right? It's a thing. And if you can see it, it narrows as you go down, tapers down. So instead of just looking like, say, this all the way around, you will have contours, right? So I don't know. Is it necessary to have that to do what I do? No, but it's impressive to look at. And that's another thing I've stated in the past. For me, wargaming has always been a kind of ulterior art form, and that goes hand in hand with tinkering and designing and setting up and changing these game boards and things. It's all, in my opinion, a kind of even setting up hex and counter games, right? When you have everything set up, it's like a piece of art, and it changes as the pieces move and everything. I've talked about this in the past, blah blah blah. But for me, that aspect reigns almost supreme. This artsy aspect of wargaming. What's left? What's left is my Robert Mondavi private selection. Only I can get this. It's private. No, it's not true. This is the rum barrel aged. Does it really make that much of a difference? If this was not aged in rum barrels, would it taste? How different would this taste? So this says, this Merlot blends the craftsmanship of California. Oh, spare me. The cool climate of our coastal more junk. So all they talk about, oh no, they don't. They're very proud of their rum barrels, but then they finally state, it delivers complex nuances of toasted coconut, molasses, and rich vanilla when added to the blend. I'm going to hazard a guess that this is going to be my favorite based on that reading and the ingredients there. Anything with vanilla or black cherry or blackberry is usually a fail-safe deal with me. You got to let it air. Can I blow into it? Will that let it air? All right, let's hear those rum, aged in rum barrels. Those rum barrels speak. Aged in rum barrels. Again, this is the Robert Mondavi private selection. Merlot. All these are misses. I'm guessing the rum barrels are killing it for me because it tastes like Pledge dusting spray. It's got like a alcohol-y, almost like a oh god, this is awful. This is like something you would use to clean your gun with. Why would you age something in rum barrels? Do you make rum out of in wine barrels? I don't understand. Oh yeah, this is bad. It's like chemicals or something. Well, all these wines have significantly failed. That's probably my least favorite. My God. All right, and let's get back to some comments here. Moonshine, no spinning arrows for 10 minutes. No spinning arrows for 10 minutes or so. Hey, let's celebrate. Let's have a drink. Yeah, happy Mardi Gras, y'all. It doesn't mean much to me, but I guess it's a thing. Lagavulin neat clear alcohols are for rich women on diets. What do you think of the OSG NAP system games? I've been looking at NAP's wheel. Operational Studies Group, Napoleon System Games. What do I think of them? I think for anybody that's willing to learn the system, they are rewarded. But again, you have to be willing to put the investment in, right? So I'm not saying it's like a chunk of your life that you have to sacrifice. I'm just saying there are a lot of games out there, and if you're like me, you want to be choosy in what systems and series of things you want to dedicate time and effort to, because again, there's a lot of them. So do your research. I mean, what else is there? Well, you have other things like the Napoleonic Brigade series from the gamers. It's a little older, but that's an option. You have the bataille system, the grand tactical Napoleonic stuff that a lot of people are fond of. So I guess the best way to answer this is I would learn a couple. I wouldn't just learn that. If I did learn that, I would add another system and compare and contrast to kind of bounce off of these systems what one might be lacking and another gaining, if that makes any sense. I don't know how much experience you have with Napoleonic games in that respect, Kenneth, but you have my blessing with the Operational Studies Group stuff. Give it a go, learn it, love it. And like I said, then try something else and compare and contrast the two and see where you're at there. And, you need a kind of measuring stick, and just learning one particular system in a particular era doesn't quite allow you the feel of a game system just in and of itself. That might sound weird, but trust me on this. You need other things as well to, like I said, compare and contrast and whatnot. How would I know what pledge tastes like? Well, funny story. No, I don't know what pledge tastes like. But you know when you can smell things, right? And smelling it, you can imagine what it tastes like. There's a lot of things that I don't like, food and drink-wise, because it smells like perfume. The perfume has this, like, not a particular perfume, but perfume has this women's perfume. Like, especially like, what is it with older women and perfume? It's like, is it because they use too much of it? Or I don't know what it is. It's at the library, it's overwhelming when people walk by, and it's like, Jesus Lord. And you can kind of taste the smell, right? So I don't want to get gross, but all right. My God, that Malbec. Oh Jesus, it is not good. I mean, I'll drink it when I have food to cover the taste, but I'm going with. And the Mondavi doesn't taste like anything. I guess I'm going with the Carnivore. It's got a bold taste, and it doesn't taste funny like Chemicals or Pledge. You know, I don't see the point in drinking wine if it's like nothing. So pour some more Carnivore. Have another bite of cheese. You know, the crackers that I recommend. What am I talking about? Anyway, the crackers, Gone crackers. That's what you want. They're called Gone crackers. Fantastic. Get the black pepper Gone crackers. You're good. That's all you need. All right, John. John is throwing down the gauntlet. Stating that wargame developers are clueless when it comes to Napoleonics. He says, play miniatures. Well, here's what I did most recently, right? And I stated this earlier, in that I like taking things from cardboard from the box and applying it to the tabletop. The same system, the same rules, sometimes the same setup if allowed. Now, my most recent attempt at this was a couple weeks ago with La Bataille de Moscow, the Battle of Moscow game, because it is grand tactical. It's scoped in enough that you can do it with miniatures on a tabletop. And I found myself impressed with the combat system, etc., whatnot. But then I ran into a snag with the a number of things, minor, but they all cumulatively became a major thing. One of them being the stacking limits, and it's like in the action counter game, you have, if you want to do just straight hex to hex ratio from that game to the tabletop, which is the easiest way to do it, you have to take into consideration stacking, right? So in the box game, you can stack a lot of units, which will afford you greater firepower, etc., for combat. If you take that to the tabletop, you are using miniatures, and I suppose you could represent it the same way with just add counters alongside the miniatures, and however many you have stacked in that hex, you would have the equal representation of counter-wise in that hex as well. But I like things to look. I mean, what's the point of playing miniatures if they don't what you see? If what you see isn't what you get, right? So I like what you see is what you get. And I could have a base of miniatures in a hex there, but then 5 counters, which would be stacked in a hex in the game. But then just play the game, you know. Just keep it in the box and play the game. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's a psychological hang-up on my part, but it just didn't jive right for me. So after fiddling with that for a few days and nights, I finally scrapped it. But I mean, that's where I'm at with stuff. And that's the other thing, John, that you bring up. No skills to paint a battalion, so he's going to use the blue block with a sticker on it. I'm not opposed to using blocks for things. And when it comes to the miniatures thing, my greatest barrier is painting the damn things. And I blew myself out. I've already said this. I blew myself out painting the Flames of War stuff back in the day. Capable of doing it, but I still have all these guys over there. 28mm black powder, Warlord, Napoleonic stuff. British, Prussians, and French, all primer gray sitting there, and I kid myself and say one of these days I'll start painting them, but I know I'm not gonna. Anyway, that's my problem, not yours. So here's a counter argument. Mini's great for RPG, D&D, Star Wars, but not war. Well, I think it's a scale thing. I mean, you can represent tactical stuff pretty well with miniatures, but when you want to scope out, scale out, yeah, you're better off using cardboard for that. So, yeah. So what have you guys been playing? Here's a interactive question. Mandatory, it's not optional. You have to add what you guys have been playing, and I will comment accordingly and judge you. No, I will not judge you, but I would be interested in knowing what you guys are up to these days. And is it old stuff? Is it new stuff? Old stuff can be new stuff if it's old enough. But, yeah, just curious what you guys are into. And what else we got? I do have some records. I did say I was going to... There's some more non-wargaming stuff to talk about, guys. Hey, great, right? So that was Know Your Reds. Not communists, but the red wines. Know Your Reds. And that was pretty much a bust. All 3 of them. I don't know that I'd recommend any of those for an event, a wedding, a funeral even. Yeah, I think they're all a bust. So I collect not as much these days, and I've sold a number on eBay, especially my favorite Helicopters album, which I can kick myself for, but sold a number of things along the way, but I've kept a number of things too. And I got to cut to do this. So the first thing I'll share with you is this. This is Iggy and the Stooges' Funhouse. So this is Iggy Pop, later known as such. Went solo, broke away from the Stooges. And this is not the first Stooges album. You've got Raw Power, which is fantastic. You've got the other one with I Want to Be Your Dog. But just rock and roll stuff, man. Just good stuff. There's no gimmick. There's no shtick. It's just loud, good rock and roll stuff. And we've got Dirt that runs 7 minutes. It'd be nice if I could play some of these for you, but there's copyright issues and I don't want to risk it. But check this out, this album, and see what you think. The Stooges' Funhouse album. It's great stuff. And like I said, it's just loud, raw, or rock and roll stuff. I mean, again, no gimmicks, no frills. You don't need makeup. You don't need to, break bottles and run them across your chest to impress the crowd. You just make good music, Although I have to say, Iggy did do some crazy stuff. You can find some old videos of Iggy live in the crowd on top of folks for whatever reason. I don't know how or why, rubbing peanut butter all over himself. I don't know how he got it or why he had peanut butter, but yeah. So that's one of my favorite all-time albums right there. And then you have, in case you didn't know this was an LP, somebody had to write, I bought this at a used record store. Somebody had to write LP on there. Maybe that was the initials of the guy that owned it. But in case you didn't know this was an LP, you have to write that on there. This is Harvest by Neil Young. And some of my all-time favorite Neil Young songs are on here, such as Old Man, Alabama, Heart of Gold, but especially Needle and the Damage Done. Particularly fond of that song, probably my favorite on the album. And you could probably use your imagination to know what he's referring to regarding Needle and the Damage Done. It's not a diabetes reference. So that is, and Neil Young, his voice is unmistakable. I don't know that there's anybody, and you could add with Sting as well from the Police. Well, I'm not a Sting fan. I like some of the early Police albums, but Sting from the Police and especially Neil Young. These guys, their voice and nothing like it. You can hear just a snippet of it and know exactly who it is. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Another sip of wine. You guys posting what you've been playing? That's your homework. Add some A1 into the bottle. That is not a bad idea. It is not a horrible idea. War games are the grandchildren of miniatures. Just finished a few solo plays of Poland Defiant. That sounds familiar. Sell the records and keep the games. Well, why can't I keep both? 1960s. I assume that's in reference to Iggy and the Stooges. I think that's late 70s was the Stooges stuff. And David Bowie saved Iggy. Yeah, maybe. David Bowie had a thing for Iggy. I won't get into it. And I don't know the extent of it, but maybe. Yeah, maybe. I guess later he did save Iggy. This is... Again, I'm not a fanatical, freakish Who guy, but this Who Quadrophenia album is all you need, really. Everybody knows Tommy, the rock opera Tommy from the Who. Forget about it. That's nothing compared to this. Yes, that's my opinion. No, it's not my opinion. That's a fact. This Quadrophenia album is just, it's all in here. And it is what it is. It's a rock opera. It tells a story from beginning to end. About a gentleman growing up, coming of age in England, alienated from society, perhaps alienated a bit from himself, trying to come to terms with what is cool and what is worth pursuing in life, and etc. Hangs on to his youth a little longer than he should, perhaps. I don't know. I'll let you guys listen to it, or even better, watch the movie Quadrophenia, because like I said, everybody knows Tommy, and Tommy's just fine and dandy, but this is actually good stuff. Quadrophenia is the one that you want. I don't even think I like Tommy, to be honest with you. I don't know what people see in that thing. It's too poppy. Is that what it is? It's too poppy of an album for me. Not to mention the fact that you can turn on the classic rock radio station right now and hear a freaking song from that album, and maybe that's what it is. I've heard the damn thing too many times. I'm gonna wait on this. I don't know if this is gonna be in you guys' wheelhouse. Did I irritate anybody with the Tommy comment? Check out the Neil Young with Devo. It's great. Is it? I'm not a Devo fan, but I'll remain open-minded Neil Young with Devo. Yeah, well, we'll see. Here's a little out of left field maybe for some of you. This is also not a war game. Welcome to my wargaming channel where I don't talk about war games. This is Johnny Thunders from the New York Dolls. And he's the main guy. Not somebody to look up to. He was and died a junkie in New Orleans. Not anybody to, like I say, be to aspire to. But the music was a little crazy, and in a good way. I could argue that some of this stuff is fairly experimental, rock-wise. This is a live album that he did at the Ballroom in '84, Lyceum Ballroom in '84. And a tragic figure, and most of his songs did sound, even though they're like upbeat kind of rock stuff, there's still like this sense of like tragic undertone to him. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me, maybe not. But Johnny Thunders is good stuff as well. Here's the real kicker, and that's something I'm not proud of. I don't own a record player. Now, that's not to say I've never owned a record player. I've used to have one and it broke, but I still collect the albums, and I tell myself I'm going to get another record player at some point. But there's a lot of options out there, and that can be good, that can be bad. But the nature of the economy that we live in is such that we're overwhelmed with choices, and it's like, what record player do you get? There's this, and there's this, and then this one's better than that one, but not as good as this one, and then you got to decide what speakers you want. And I'm stifled by the choices, so I sit still without a record player because I can't decide which one do I want to spring a lot of money and get one that is going to last me forever and be awesome. Or do I want to just get a cheap one that, I don't know. All right, so this guy is Rocky Erickson. Don't Knock the Rock. This is a compilation of songs he did. He started out in a band called the 13th Floor Elevators. And psychedelic stuff with the 13th Floor Elevators. And then just weird rock horror stories, not horror like as in awful, but like literally like songs like what is the one song? I Walked with a Vampire and Three-Headed Dog. And he believed that the thing with Rocky is that the things that he sung about, which were odd enough, like three-headed dogs working. He was working in the Kremlin with a three-headed dog. He states all this stuff, right? He pretty much believes it. And the story goes, and check my facts on this. The story goes with this guy as he kind of fried himself, and I think he was pulled over back in the '60s-ish era when he had some pot or some LSD or something on him, and I guess, however, some way they've decided that the best thing for him would be to go to a psychiatrist and get help. And they did bad things to him, and he was never right afterwards, right? So he had some shock therapy, and this was back when shock therapy was not something you wanted to get. Nowadays, it's a lot better. I mean, it still should only be used as a last resort if you're not responding to meds and therapy and all this other stuff. But back then, if you were going to get shock therapy, that was the end of the road. And it messed him up, and it made him extremely paranoid, and he believed in a lot of this nonsense that he sung about. But it's good songs. It's interesting stuff. So God bless Rocky. He died recently. There's also a documentary about him you can watch. It's fairly interesting. I don't remember it, but they go into detail about his life and the stuff that he'd had to deal with. Who Sell Out is a good album. Not my favorite, but I appreciate the sharing. If I had to pick an entire album, it would be Pink Floyd. Otherwise, I like individual songs. Yeah, Pink Floyd's got some great stuff. Even the later stuff, like Division Bell, I still like that as well. The early stuff as well as the later stuff. Um, they too have a kind of a droney at times. The earlier stuff, you get that sense of like this droney kind of tragic, sad, depressing tone that permeates as a kind of theme throughout their music, right? I've heard about Audio Technica. That's on my list as far as a record player that's not going to set you back $10,000. Nothing compared to Cold Ethel. Okay, I don't know. Let's move on. This is also not a war game. This is, I'll stop with that. This is T-Rex. Most of you should be familiar with this. If not, slap your own wrist. This is Mark Bolan from T-Rex. Now, probably best known for a song called Bang a Gong, but unfortunately, over here in America, there's another band that did a song called Bang a Gong. They covered it, and that's who most people associate with that song, even though this is the guy that did it. This guy was a big deal in England back in the day. A big deal. People went nuts over this guy, but didn't happen over here. It didn't cross the pond, the effect over here. He was really into, and it comes out in his lyrics, like Hubcap, Diamond Star, Halo. He considered himself a bit of a rhymester and was really into science fiction and things like that. Good stuff. But then he's got a number of good albums, but particularly I had to pick this one, The Slider, because you've got a song called Chariot Chugel, and it is just rough, hard, awesome rock and roll for that time when you have like the hippy dippy poppy flower stuff going on, and you hear something like Chariot Chugel, and that's good stuff. So T-Rex, and he's got a ton. His catalog is big. He's got a lot of early stuff when he was known as Tyrannosaurus Rex, I think. Ride a White Swan, things like that, and then T-Rex, and there you go. Got a few more, and then that'll be it for that. It is 8:45, so that means what? Almost 2 hours now we've been going. I'll give it another 15 or 20 minutes. Oh, I love Joy Division. There's a great documentary on Joy Division as well. Also like The Cure, The Wish. The Cure Wish album is my favorite Cure album. The Smiths, yeah, I like them. I can only take them in limited doses though. And then Echo and the Bunnymen, of course, yeah. Well, you know, if you're going to add to that bill, you got to add the Sisters of Mercy, etc., etc. We could go on, right? But there's that. And then we have, I think I got 3 or 4 more here. Here's something that might throw you guys for a loop. And maybe not. The Zombies, Odyssey, and Oracle. Now, this is some 60s psychedelic fare. But when you hear a song, for instance, like Care of Cell 44, or a song called A Rose for Emily, A Rose for Emily is a beautiful ballad. Maybe After He's Gone. All these songs, I mean, they're all great songs. There isn't just a few good songs on the album that make it a good album. Pretty much all these songs on here are good songs. This Will Be Our Year. I mean, of course, what they're probably most famous for, Time of the Season. This is the time of the season for love. Yeah. Anyway, you get the point. But yeah, listen to this album. This is one of those albums you just want to like. Maybe it's a rainy afternoon or something, and you put this on, and you put the headphones on, and you lay on the couch, start to finish, man. It's an adventure. It's just going to take you on an adventure, and just lay back and enjoy. That's Odyssey and Oracle by the Zombies. Along those lines, honorable mention, Ogden's Nut Gone Flake by, I believe, the Small Faces. I'm going to embarrass myself here and mess up, but I believe it's Small Faces. Ogden's Nut Gone Flake is another fun, interesting album along those lines. So I guess I am digging the Mondavi, because here I go with it. And I will throw out that while you guys have me here, is a good time to ask me anything. It can be games, it can be not. You know, like I said, just because it's a game channel doesn't mean we have to stick to the topic. Obviously, I'm not. Anything you've ever wondered or whatever. I don't know. Now's the time to ask. I'm happy to oblige as long as it's within reason and a good taste. John Longshore's out of here. Have a good night. All right, John. I guess that's what that means. John's had enough. Always glad to have you aboard, though, John. And that brings us to... I don't know how the cover got so warped, but Stiff Little Fingers, which is an interesting name for a band. I believe they're from Ireland, and this is some heavy punk stuff from the 70s. So don't squinch when you hear the word punk, because this is some interesting, decent, fast-paced, kind of poppy stuff, but the guy's voice is very interesting. Again, it's one of those things that it can't be mistaken for anything else. When you hear a Stiff Little Fingers song, you know it's a Stiff Little Fingers song because there's nothing else out there like it. And I highly recommend it, so there's that. Let's see, do we have wine lips yet? Probably. I wonder if the Caps beat the Penguins. NBC hockey tonight. The hockey is back, even though in a limited form because teams are getting quarantined. It's a truncated season. It's a weird world we live in now, but we do have hockey. Look at that. Bill, we just jived on the same thing. Rangers lost to the Devils tonight. I'm not up on the Rangers and the Devils, if they're any good or not this year. I know. Maple Leafs are doing good. Montreal's doing good. Blues are sliding. Injuries. That's my team, obviously. Blues. But, yeah, I love the hockey, though. And that's the only sport I like, actually. I don't really like anything else. Football, baseball, basketball. I'm not even going to say take it or leave it. I just say leave it. But the hockey stuff, that's a big deal. In fact, my second favorite team, the Colorado Avalanche, are doing... God, they're fun to watch. They're suffering from a couple injuries, too, but, man, they're fast. And when they're on it, they're on it. I mean, they just... One into the other score. Boom. Especially Nathan McKinnon. That guy is awesome. I think they're playing Vegas Golden Knights tonight. And Golden Knights are a good team. In fact, they beat the Avs a couple nights ago when they played, so... There's that. I'm lost. PB HOD, PBHOD. The acronym's escaping me. I guess I'm an idiot. And this, for those of you, again, that are watching that don't normally watch or are new, Quebec Nordiques, yeah. They are no more. Nordiques go away. Atlanta Thrashers. Yeah, well, I wasn't born here, though. I mean, I was born in St. Louis, right? So that I grew up a St. Louis Blues fan, and I came here about 6-7 years ago. So the hockey thing was already ingrained in me. And believe it or not, there's some hockey fans here. A couple bars you can go to, and the rivalry between the Blues and the Blackhawks still lives, although not like it used to. And you'll see a number of folks in Blackhawks jerseys and Blues jerseys, especially during the playoffs, down here in the bars, and it's pretty cool. The golden helmets, now I haven't... Those helmets are ridiculous looking, those golden helmets. I haven't seen them play an actual game in those things, but I've seen clips, and it's too much. I'm surprised the league allowed it. They're distracting, they're loud, they're obnoxious, they're annoying. On the other hand, I kind of like it because it's loud, obnoxious, distracting, annoying, but I don't know that it's the right helmet for a regular season game. Maybe for like if they were... Well, they're playing an outdoor game with the Avs in Lake Tahoe, right? That's when you wear gold. I mean, when you talk gold, this is like shiny gold, like a mirror helmets, and it just looks ridiculous on them. I couldn't take myself seriously as a hockey player wearing that crap, skating around on the ice. Flames and the Thrashers, yeah. Calgary's got. Didn't Brett Hall play for Calgary briefly, and then they had. Well, if they're meant to distract their opponents, again, I don't know how the league allows that. I don't know that it's in their interest to wear paraphernalia that is distracting. But whatever. I mean, is this surprising at all? It's the era we live in. Everything goes, and it's a weird time. So why not gold helmets? Timothy, come back to me here. I remember what are you saying? PBHOD behind you. I'm not getting the acronym. I apologize. I'm not trying to call you out. I want to answer your question, and I'm the dummy that should know what that acronym stands for. Panzer Blitz, Hill of Death. Oh, I just got it. Okay, so did you ask about this earlier? Somebody else asked about this. Was that you? I'm going back in the comments. Oh, no, I think it was John. Yeah, what do you want to know about this? Thoughts on the game? Well, I don't know. I think it's MMP trying to make money, obviously, off of a classic title. If you're interested in getting it, I'd say you don't need it. If you already have the original Panzer Blitz, that's sufficient. Spend your money. This sounds harsh, but I mean, you're going to get an honest opinion, right? Save your money, get something else. I mean, I have it, but it was on sale at M&P a few years back, and I picked it up. Unless that's your thing. I mean, if Panzer Blitz, you live and die by Panzer Blitz, then yeah, I guess you got to have it. But there's other things out there, right, that I would recommend over that. Ay. Last album, and then I'll shut up about the non-game related stuff. Best of the Music Machine, and this is, as it says, the best of the Music Machine. Now, if you look at these guys closely, Bonnewell is the name of the gentleman that is the lead singer, and if you look at the right hand of the guitar player in the front, he's got a black glove on, and they dressed in black. And a guitar player to his left has a black glove on. That was that was their shtick, right? And it was kind of a big deal back then because you didn't want to look too evil or stand outish. You know, there was a certain look that dominated the scene during that era, and to dress like this and totally like just do your own thing was ballsy, and but it's great music. It's so good. It's great stuff. It's one of the best garage rock albums out there. Some might argue, well, the Doors are the best garage rock album. And my problem with the Doors, right? The Doors, it sounds like circus music half the time, and the other time, when he ain't blitzed on alcohol, I don't know. I'm not impressed with the Doors. There's some later stuff like Morrison Hotel that's tolerable, but same with the Kinks. I think the Kinks are a little overrated. Sorry, but they are. Anyway, I'm done with that. I'm open to any game-related stuff that you guys have. Dan Webb, bless you. I think they're working on playtesting version 3 of this rule set, Hill of Death. Robert Mondavi asked about it. That's hilarious. And best live sport I ever attended was watching the Ducks. Anaheim? Did you just go to the one Anaheim game? I've been to an Arizona Blues game in Arizona. And I went to a Vegas Golden Knights Blues game in Vegas. My God, that place is nuts in the Fortress in Vegas where they play. It is so... It's entertaining, which is what it's meant to be, but it's so gaudy and overdone and just, oh my God, it's over the top. It's an experience. I can't even describe it. It's just so much going on. It is like, it's as close to the Roman Colosseum as you can get. It really is. All right, now I need to check my notes. Anything else we got here? I've done enough non-game related topics. We already covered the War Games in Decline thing, which should never be spoken about again. We shall speak no more of this. War Games in Decline. Modified board games into miniatures games. We talked about that a little bit. Touched on the hockey, which is near and dear to my heart, always will be. Not a whole lot left. I would add that for those that are unaware of it and you're looking for something entertaining, watch. Are you guys familiar with John Lurie? He's a director and musician and artist, and he did a movie called Stranger Than Paradise, and actually a number of things, but that as well as Down by Law with Tom Waits. Anyway, he has a little show had a little show back in the day called Fishing with John. Now, some of you may or may not be aware of this, but those of you that are not should become aware of it because it's highly entertaining. It is what it says. He goes on these fishing trips and takes along an actor from Hollywood on these fishing trips and kind of interviews them as they're hanging out. It's entertaining stuff. But he's got a new thing out now. It's not quite as good. He's gotten older and a little less entertaining. But it's called Painting with John, and that I think is on HBO Max. I've watched all of those. They're short, quick, little 20-minute hits, and you can follow along with John and what he's up to these days. He's got himself on some, I don't know, tropical island or coastal place where he's living at, and he's rolling tires down hills and flying drones and painting and just living the life. So good for you, John. I think he had cancer, and I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about nobody to you guys. But anyway, it's good stuff. Fishing with John, check that out. And then if you like that and you find yourself pining for more, then you can do Painting with John. So there's my plug for something to watch. That also has nothing to do with war games. That said, I think they should be a... Comedians in Cars is good. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I've watched a number of those episodes. I would recommend those as well with Jerry Seinfeld. Good stuff. Interviews people as well. All right. Timothy's giving me some love here. Love the channel. Enjoyed your Team Yankee play and the page through of Twilight 2000. An RPG close to my heart. You know, my brain, I have an admission to make. I've already made this. My brain doesn't... it didn't develop right when it comes to RPGs. I don't register correctly. The response that you should get when faced with an RPG is not the response that I get. So, but that said, there's a couple that I've delved in, Dungeons and Dragons, of course, in the past. But I went through a little Twilight 2000 stint when I was 15, 16. And I'll come back to these comments, so that's why I paused. I'm coming back. So Twilight 2000, little stint there. I had all the supplementary stuff and enjoyed the hell out of it. And I really liked the concept. Now, you have to remember that the topic was more relevant then, which was like early to mid-'80s than it is now. The Cold War was really cold, and the legitimate possibility of nukes falling on us at any time was a real possibility, and that stuff was a real concern. So the topic was timely, and it seemed realistic. So it was fantasy. I don't want to say fantasy. It was artificial. It was fake, but at the same time, it was the possibility of perhaps a real outcome, right? So I enjoyed Twilight 2000. I'll also throw in Gamma World. That was fun as well. I enjoyed that, and that's about it. The RPG stuff. I think there was a Vietnam RPG that I really dug. Might have been Recon or something like that. But that allowed me to use, once again, and I was probably, again, 15 or 16, a bunch of, God, I wish I still had them, these Vietnamese miniatures, Vietnam guys. So, like the VC and the NVA and the Americans. And this guy at school had them. I don't even know why he had them. I don't know how I found out he had them, but I'm like, I'll buy them off you. So that became like a week, 2 week thing. Like every day he'd bring some more guys in. I don't remember how much that paid for him, like $1, $2 a guy. Bought him in and then used that recon, that rule set, I think is what it was. And man, that was fun stuff. Just, I can only imagine the memories my mother has of me growing up, because it was always like that certain living room, right? So you had the family room and the living room, and the living room nobody used. It was cold. It was off on the farthest part of the house. The family room had the TV and you hang out, blah, blah, blah. But the living room, for whatever reason, interested me. There was always plants in there, so it's kind of like jungly. And the encyclopedias were in there. My God, the Encyclopedia Britannica set that we had. How many times in my life did I pull those off the shelf and stack them flat to make trenches or forts, and just like over and over and over. And that was my game room, was the living room growing up, and I was always doing something in there. I even did went through a Russia and Afghanistan phase, because that was a big deal at the time too. And I had little plastic Afghanistan, I don't know, Mujahideen figures and Russian Spetsnaz guys, and went at it in the MiG helicopters, or the Hind helicopters. My God, those things are beautiful, those Hind helicopters. Yeah, but anyway, is that normal growing up? Maybe it is. Maybe it's too normal. I mean, I guess normal, what is normal? But growing up, you're supposed to be outside, like, and I went outside too, but again, it was war stuff. It was like, let's have BB gun fights, or let's take the Army guys outside, or build forts, or... But it was always war stuff growing up, and I think my mother was worried sick I was going to go in the military, and I wanted to, and I didn't, for various reasons, but I ended up going to college, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, yeah, man, fond memories growing up. Oh, the G.I. Joe stuff, my God, my 13th birthday, my mother, bless her heart, she invited all the well-to-do part of the family over that year, and that was awesome, because she told him ahead of time, like, he's really into this G.I. Joe stuff. Literally anything you can get, he's going to dig it. And my God, a veritable toy store arrived on that 13th birthday with all the stuff that came in. But it's kind of like Rosebud with Citizen Kane, all that stuff that I had. There was only a couple of things that really stand out that I wish I still had. One was this. Now I'm really going off on a tangent. You could get this Cobra Command, which was the evil guys, right, in G.I. Joe. You could get this Cobra Command thing, and it was a foam glider. And, all the G.I. Joe guys had, like, the little hole in the back so you could attach backpacks or whatever. But you stick the G.I. Joe guy to the glider, and the thing flew. It actually, you could glide it. And I mean, when you see these toy commercials, it was like, oh, I wish I could do that. Because they're always like way better than you could ever have it set up at your house, But you see that and you want to get it because it looks so awesome. But this was one time where when you see these guys flying across the screen, you could really do that. And brought that stuff home. And I just, once again, the weirdo kid out in the yard flying a G.I. Joe and a glider around the yard over and over and over when he wasn't shooting hockey pucks in the pole barn. That's another story. Or skateboarding, that was a big thing as well. Christmas '66, I played Band of Brothers about 16 hours a day. Now you say B.O.B. and I say Band of Brothers, but that's not what that means. Over vacation in our living room, you should have seen my father's face. Yeah. Well, I don't think my mother cared so much. I mean, my stepdad probably cared more than anybody, because he thought I should be, he's the one that was like, you should be out waxing cars or cutting grass or all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, I did my share of that stuff, and I hated every minute of it. But He likes doing that. You know, he grew up loving that manual labor, tinkering stuff. But my idea of moving out to 6 acres is building forts so I can have ores, not chopping stumps out and cutting grass. And putting in a barbed wire fence around the 6 acres. Yes, I had to do that. Battle of the Bulge, 66. Thank you. Okay, that clarifies that. I gotta brush up on my acronyms. All right, as this thing has gone on, we've gained a couple more hangers-ons and watchers. I appreciate everybody that has stopped by. I will continue doing this as long as people are willing to listen. But not for too much longer. That's fair, right? It's been a little over 2 hours. The Avs are currently playing, so I do want to catch some of that game. Again, any questions you guys have, anything you want to share, I will happily, because I don't know how to highlight a comment and make it appear on screen. So I just pinned a comment. I don't know what that means, so now I'm going to unpin it. That didn't do anything. So when you pin a comment, it shows up at the top of the chat box. But how do you, and this is not the time to do this, I apologize. I would be curious to know how you make a comment that somebody posts over here appear on the screen that we're all looking at. But that's for another time for me to figure out on my own time. Burma game recommendation. Okay. I don't have a Burma game recommendation because I don't know that I've ever played a Burma game. And my love for things Pacific Theater stack up quite a lot less than my love for European theater. There are certain things that I appreciate, but for whatever reason, it was always a fascination with Germans versus Americans and vice versa, especially paratroopers, Normandy, the basics, Battle of the Bulge. My God, Market Garden. That battle will continue to fascinate me to no end. I won't get into it, but and there's gunshots. No, that's firecrackers. Okay, it's hard to distinguish between the gunshots and the fireworks here. So it's Mardi Gras, so it's fireworks. But I do hear gunshots more often than I'd like to. Living in the central part of New Orleans, and the crime here is, as you might expect. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from visiting New Orleans. There are areas that are perfectly safe. I would add stay in groups and stay in populated areas. But, man, we sure have a crime problem here. And that should be no secret, but that's what it is. And I do hear gunshots more often than I would like to. All right, what else? Most complicated and messy World War II theater, in my opinion. Yeah, the Pacific Theater, no? Messy as hell. And a lot of the, here's my question, and perhaps some of you can enlighten me, because it could have worked. Yeah, okay, Monty. Monty is something else. That guy's full of himself. My God. In a bad way. I think Monty did more harm than good overall. Honestly. I'm sorry. No, I forgot what I was going to say. Market Garden, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I completely blanked on what I was segueing into something and lost it. Maybe you guys can refresh. Oh, enlighten me. Enlighten me on... thank you. Enlighten me on some of these Pacific Theater battles. Specifically, I've only been tasting 3 bottles of wine here. Particularly some of these island battles, why did they need to take place? Could we have just blockaded the islands such that the Japanese that held a number of these would no longer be able to attain supply? Is it that we needed to grab an island so we could put an airfield on it. Okay, that would make sense. But it seems like a number of these battles, like I said, just blockade the island and wait it out. Why did we need to go in there and root them out? Which, yeah, it was a hell of a mess. It seems counterproductive and counterintuitive. Monty was the aristocrat's patent. Well, maybe. Did Monty think he was reincarnated? I don't know. I haven't read, I'm ashamed to say. Specifically, pun intended. That's great. Yeah, that's funny. I haven't read any official Patton biographies, or even did he write an autobiography? Was the airstrip thing? That makes sense then to me. Okay, thank you. Otherwise, it's like, why bother? You know. We have a platoon of Japanese on this island, so we need to dedicate all this time and resources and death to attaining control of this island via infantry. Do we really? Okay, but if that makes sense, if it's about obtaining an island so you can put an airstrip in there. Okay, I said enough about that. Patton, he thought he was reincarnated, and I don't know how much of this he really thought, how much of it he just played up, but he did. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Maybe I'm reincarnated. I mentioned this earlier. I was talking to my brother. There is a guy, you go on things like Ancestry.com and whatnot. There is a guy I finally found, because I try and understand what my fascination with, because the World War II thing makes sense to me, right? Because my father, growing up my whole life, it was always World War II books, World War II movies, World War II documentaries, stories about World War II, gun shows, and it was all the World War II stuff at the gun show. World War II reenactments at J.B. Park. Todd, who's probably not watching, but he knows what I'm talking about. And Jefferson Barracks. So the World War II thing I can understand. But my love for Napoleonics makes no sense to me. And I don't know that I'll ever understand it or figure it out. And so I went down a hole one day and found during the Battle of Waterloo, there was a commander on the Allies side with the same last name of me, which means nothing. But then you can project, right, and say, well, maybe you have this gentleman has an ancestor, and it's in your blood, passed down, and you I don't know. It makes the Napoleon thing. I can't stand horse and musket. I don't like the Enlightenment age. Or horse and muskrat, as I call it, unfondly. But for whatever reason, maybe the players themselves in the Napoleonic era, they stand out so much. It's like a well-written novel almost, right? These folks. Oh, Dan, your dad was born in Jefferson Barracks. That's interesting. Yeah, I've been there a number of times. Anyway. But yeah, I don't understand. I can't figure it out. It's not a problem. I'm not trying to quit the habit or anything, but I don't know where I picked it up or how. I think my first real fascination with the Napoleonic thing, one of the two, it was either Waterloo or Napoleon heading into Russia, or both. And those battles, well, the Waterloo battle specifically, and then the whole Russian campaign in 1812. Well, they fascinate me because they were doomed to failure, right? Maybe that's what it is. I guess he didn't think he would fail, or he wouldn't have done it. But obviously, you can't go in. You just can't. You can't do it. You can't go into Russia the way he did, and Dominic Levine probably has the best book I've read on Napoleon invading Russia, for those of you interested in the topic. Well, there's that as well, right, Lee? Win battles, not containment. You have to gain the support. You want supportive, positive headlines, and you have to gain the support of the public, right? And you need little victories. You need victories, period. And you need little victories, big victories. Again, to tie it back into Napoleon, he himself was aware of this. You need victories, and you need to advertise these victories adequately such that you can gain the support of your nation. You'd have thought the Germans would have learned. Yeah, you would have thought. Well, again, you have to remember, and this is probably pointing out the obvious, you have a megalomaniacal, self-absorbed, self-aggrandized, everything self leader, tyrant in power with Hitler, and he thought, honestly, I really believe as time went on, he thought he could do no wrong. He thought that, I don't want to get on a whole Hitler thing, but I mean, he thought that he had like the hand of God working behind him, with him, divine intervention, that anything he did would work and succeed. And I guess when you go crazy, that's what happens, and you decide you want to invade Russia because you think, well, where others have failed, I will succeed because I am me, and there's never been a me before in history. It's all ego, dude. It's all ego, and how many people died for, okay, look at it this way. If he would have just gotten to as far as he did and stop and hold and dig in, what's wrong with that? I mean, that's better than what it turned out to be, right? I mean, he came so close that he could see the spires of the towers in Moscow, right? Fine, just hang. I mean, history's proven that even if you take Moscow, that doesn't mean a thing, right? Napoleon did it, took Moscow and sat there for what, 1, 2, 3 weeks waiting for something to happen, and nothing happened, and he's like, what the hell's going on? This guy's not playing right. This isn't how it works. I've taken your city, and now you're supposed to abdicate, and what's up? What's going on? I don't get it. I mean, so Hitler should have just like, but that's the thing, right? I mean, you think you're capable of grand and wonderful things, and it's these gross as in size, big, sweeping, historical things that you're trying to accomplish, and it's insanity. It's all insanity, and it's people like that do insane things. I don't know. That's all there is to it. Gandhi, India, Mao, and China, French and British colonies, China, most complex World War II theater. Nemesis by Legion. Good game to check out. I don't know if that I have, bringing up Legion. I think this is the only Legion game I have. And I still to this day, I have a bit of the East Front World War II left in me. I mean, it's been beaten to death, much like Normandy and the Bulge, but I still have it. And so I'm not overly familiar with Legion games, but White Dog Games is another one. I don't think I own any White Dog games, but they got a lot out, and they seem to they're fairly prolific in their production schedule. They have a number of games that they're pumping out consecutively, concurrently. Okay, so now we're segueing into the movie talk. Speaking of PTO, I think Thin Red Line is a better war movie than Saving Private Ryan. Convince me otherwise. Okay, Brian, let me do you one better. Have you read the book? Because that is based on a book by the same title, Thin Red Line. I think The Thin Red Line is a fantastic movie, one of my favorites, but that's just me, obviously, and I know a number of folks will not agree with the message that it is trying to state. You could possibly call that an anti-war war movie. I would do so. That doesn't make it a poor movie, and it doesn't take anything away from those that fought in the Pacific and died. And that battle is not based on any that I'm aware of. Supposed to be based on any historical battle. It's kind of a fictional place that they're at, but you could use your imagination and possibly come up with something that coincides in a similar vein. Saving Private Ryan. Now here's the thing, right? They're different types of movies, and I think they're made for a different audience. So Thin Red Line, don't take this the wrong way, but I think Thin Red Line is more for your highbrow, I don't know how else to put it, audience. more perhaps an analytical audience, while Saving Private Ryan would be more for your general audience who's interested in a war movie, an action flick, right? With meat on it. I mean, that's not to say that it's a hollow thing with wooden actors and sappy dialogue. I mean, there's meat and substance there. But when you compare it to something like Thin Red Line, it's two different movies, and I think. Well, again, it's hard to compare. It's easy to contrast, but they're two different movies. I'll leave it at that. We all play the games because we can do better than that egomaniac. There are a flurry, a slew of reasons why people want to play war games and reenact these historical events that are great, successful victories, or to some perhaps even more bafflingly wine to some that perhaps have a little more difficulty understanding. Well, okay, why would you play a war game where as that side or faction or nation you were going to lose horribly? Well, maybe you think you can do better, but then you get into the whole, for me at least, the whole simulation versus game thing. And that's another thing, like the old the war games are in decline. Well, simulation versus game, right? And it's the argument will never be resolved, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be. But when it comes to historical things, it goes hand in hand with simulation for me. Game allows, for me, more of an exploration of what ifs and possibilities. So that's how I look at it. More acronyms. TTT, a powerful, underrated movie. So T for the, TTT. Timothy, you're killing me with these acronyms. Torah. Jesus, all right. Catch up, Jay. Catch up. I just caught up. It's funny, Torah. I just rented that maybe 2 months ago, and I told my brother, I was like, hey, watching Torah. He's like, you watching the new one? Didn't they just redo that? Am I mistaken? I'm like, no, I'm not watching the new one. I'm watching the original. And for me, that's important. I don't like a lot of these remakes. I like the original, and it pains me greatly. It wounds me. It incapacitates me when I find somebody like, have you seen such and such movie? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not as good as the original. And they say, this is a remake? Yeah, it's a remake. And it's like, go to the source, watch the original. All right, Dan, always a pleasure to have you stop by, and I think I got about 5 minutes left. That'll mean 3.5 hours. I think that's plenty, even though, once again, oddly, as time goes on, more people hop on. Curious looky-loos. But anything else you guys want to touch on with the last 5 minutes? Anything in conclusion, to capsulate, to sum up? While you guys think, I will thank John Longshore, Conflict Magazine, Wardrobe, Kenneth Klobe, Robert Schnegenberger, Matt Chestnut, as I go through the comments, Bill Broadhurst, and anybody else? Lee Parente de Costa. I think I said Kenneth Klobe. If I didn't, Kenneth Klobe. E4 Airman. Viper Dave, of course, as always. And Lead Magnet. Can't forget Lead Magnet. Timothy Stone, if I haven't already said your name, sir. Brian Jarvis, who is either Canadian or a fan of Canada, a Canadaphile. Canadiophile? He's probably Canadian. I think that sums it up. Dan Webb, of course. And Brian Jarvis, did I already say that? Yes. And all right, I thank all of you for joining along in the chat, because without you guys, it would just be me speaking into a camera, and that's pretty boring. Even though I am speaking into a camera, I'm actually speaking to all of you. Thank you as well for those of you that did not comment and were just hanging out watching. I would encourage you to subscribe, as the annoying ticker tape banner up here suggests become a subscriber so you don't miss upcoming, exciting, wonderful things like this in the future. Anything else I want to add? No, but the usual. Be nice to each other. Be patient. The times being what they are, it's very easy. And I think of my father back home, who he's living in his own world, and I can't fault him for that. But he doesn't understand people at all, and he has no patience. And it's very easy for him to get annoyed and lash out with little things, you know. And it's like, hey, you know, you got to remember, and I tell him, remember that people right now, they're stressed, they're scared, they're dealing with things that you can only imagine. Nobody knows what one person is going through in his life until you wear shoes, and just try to remember to be patient and understanding and kind. I mean, at the end of the day, is it that much, really, to ask? So, all right, guys, that's it. Thank you again. I did a lot of non-wargame content. Next time I do this, I will focus more on wargame stuff specifically. And I think that's it. I'll shut up for the night. So, talk to you next time.